Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baines. Here. Bredefeld.
Here.
Caprielio.
Here.
Chavez.
Here.
Olivier. Vice President Brandel. Here. President Soria.
Here. Next, we have the invocation by Minister John Salter of the Northwest Church of Christ. Would you please come forward? And then would everyone please stand and remain standing for the flag salute?
Do I do that too?
You can go ahead and get started. Pray.
Okay, bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, please give this council guidance and wisdom to discuss and debate the issues that are affecting our city. Help them to have compassion and empathy for the people of Fresno. Father, please open their minds and hearts to listen to the people they serve and to forge relationships within the community and to collaborate with them to enact policies that will lift everyone up. Help us, Father, to form a partnership with the various agencies within our city to work together to find workable solutions to the homeless crisis and increasing crime in our city. And Father, we're thankful to the members of this council for choosing public service and having a strong desire to improve the lives of all the citizens of Fresno for this and future generations. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Next, we'll go to the approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
There's a few. The first one is regarding item 3F, pertaining to the Fresno City Employees Association, FCEA, for Unit 3, non-supervisory white collar. However, the title should read Actions Pertaining to the Fresno City Employees Association, FCEA, for Unit 3, non-supervisory white collar, and non-supervisory blue collar, Local 39 for Unit 1. The next change is regarding item 5D. The closed session should read FCEA and Local 39, and it needs to be held before item 3F pertaining to the actions of FCEA and Local 39. Those are all the changes I have.
Great. Are there any changes that want to be made by the council members? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilmember Caprielio, second by Councilmember Chavez. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 7-0 or 6-0 with Councilmember Olivier absent. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take consent calendar before moving on to our special proclamations. Would any council member like to pull an item for discussion? Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yes, I'd like to pull item 1A and 1G.
One G.
And 1A, both.
Perfect. Okay, so we have item 1A and 1G that will be pulled. I will also be pulling just 1L for purpose of discussion. 1L. So we'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wish to comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Caprielio, second by Councilmember Chavez. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 6-0 with Councilmember Olivier absent. And just for the purpose of those items that were pulled, they will be heard after the ceremonial presentations. And just wanted to make note that after the ceremonial presentations, we will be taking a short break. I'm going to do a little reception, and then following, we will go to closed session immediately thereafter to take up one of the items in the closed session, just for everyone's information. So we'll go ahead and move to the first ceremonial presentation, and that is the proclamation of William Soroyan Day. And I am the sponsor, so I'll go down there. And then following, we will have Councilmember Capriolio, who will be doing a proclamation for the Trix Fraternity Day and proclamation for the Man of the Year. So good morning, everyone. I do want to call up our special guests. So Abag, if you want to come down, Jacob, and also Konik. Or who, do you want to make sure your other folks want to come? Yeah. So today is a very joyous occasion for the city of Fresno. Today and then tomorrow especially, because we are going to be celebrating William Soroyan's opening of his home as a museum here in our community. And I'm so delighted actually to share that the home is located in District 1. And so it is really an honor to be here this morning with these gentlemen and community members to, one, recognize a legend here in the city of Fresno. William Soroyan, who through his love of writing, gifted us with timeless collection of books, plays, and short stories. I'm sure we all know William Soroyan is and the legacy of his work. However, I would like to share a little small portion of his biography. So William Soroyan was born 110 years ago in Fresno on August 31st, which is tomorrow, so we'll be celebrating 110 years, in 1908. Through his childhood, he was a frequent visitor of the Fresno Public Library, where his love for reading and writing flourished. In 1933, Soroyan sent a story to a national magazine where he was first paid $15 for it. This is where his journey began as a recognizable writer. William Soroyan lived through the Second World War and was drafted into the Army in 1942, where he served until he was discharged in September of 1945. Soroyan lived in Europe for some time, and in 1967 acquired his second property here in the city of Fresno. He lived in his Fresno home, a very modest home on Griffith, during the time he produced numerous works. He passed in the Veterans Hospital in Fresno in 1981. Here in Fresno, we have honored him and honored the William Soroyan with our Central Valley jewel, the Soroyan Theater. The Soroyan Theater distinguishes itself with unparalleled elegance and luxurious seating and has hosted some of the world's most renowned performers during the rich history. The Soroyan Theater is Fresno's premier cultural arts destination and home to the area's leading performing arts groups, including the Fresno Philharmonic Orchestra, Fresno Grand Opera, and Broadway in Fresno Valley Performing Arts Council, and Lively Arts Foundation. The theater also hosts a variety of comedy shows, concerts, family entertainment, and community events. I am very thrilled again and excited and just honored to be able to say that his home will be a museum and a jewel, not only for the entire city, but in District 1, where neighbors and residents that are nearby can go walk and learn more about this legend here in the city of Fresno. This Soroyan Home Museum has been work for a long time. These gentlemen here, we've met for several months in our office. I do want to thank my team for helping them navigate to the process, making sure that tomorrow's event is a special event where we get to honor and celebrate Mr. Soroyan. So the scheduled opening, I will let you talk a little bit about the details and maybe a little bit more about the project.
I would like to thank to everybody for this day, and this proclamation means a lot for us. Coming all the way from Armenia, we really had a desire to make a second birth of Sarayan, and I hope that this house museum in the first district in Fresno will become a home of all Sarayan lovers throughout the world, and will become a center, though we have worked hard to give an opportunity to everyone in every corner of the world using internet and modern technologies to have this honor to be his guest, even online. The details, will be followed. About opening ceremony and other things, Mr. Avak Simoyan will tell more properly. Thank you, everybody, for this day. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for support, for help during these 2 years. And finally, tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. at Satellite Student Union, Fresno State, we will have our opening ceremony. Welcome. You can take part of the event. This is a very important day for us because we was working very hard during these 2 years, and finally we have this date. And thank you very much to Esmeralda Soria because you help us very much during this process. And we appreciate it. And tomorrow, I hope so, that the opening will be very informative, and you will take part of that event, which will take place that day, which we make the William Soroyan Day today. Thank you very much.
So again, just wanted to share one more thing. I think William Soroyan really exemplifies and is a great example of the contributions of the Armenian community to the city of Fresno and to our entire Central Valley. So that's why it's also, again, just a deep honor and pleasure to be able to do this today. And so we do want to present a special proclamation on behalf of the mayor and the entire council. If the clerk could please read the proclamation.
Whereas William Soroyan was born in Fresno on August 31st, 1908, to Armenian-American parents, Armenek and Takuhu Soroyan. And whereas William Soroyan came from humble beginnings, as he was raised by his mother and paternal grandmother after the passing of his father at the age of 3. And whereas William Soroyan wrote over 50 books, plays, and short stories, many of which have been recognized internationally in various countries and around the globe for their literary genius. And whereas William Soroyan was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 1940, the New York Drama City's Critics Circle Award, and an Academy Award for the Best Story in 1943. And whereas the city of Fresno will continue to cherish, honor, and learn from the beloved work of the Fresno native for many years to come by opening a museum at the Fresno House where he spent the last 2 decades of his life on August 31st, the 110th anniversary of his birth. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Fresno Mayor and Council does hereby recognize August 31st, 2018 as William Soroyan Day in the City of Fresno.
Welcome.
Uh-oh.
Off on me. Anyway, congratulations and welcome to our folks from Armenia. Thank you very much for being here. You know, today is a special day, and Thursdays usually are special days because those are the days today we get to honor individuals and organizations for their service and milestones through their organizations. And today is one of those days. So I'd like to have Patrick and Bob. Can you guys bring the whole team up here? So today we're going to celebrate TREX, Triple X Fraternity. This weekend, come on up, guys. This is their 100th anniversary. They've been around Fresno for 100 years. And so it's our pleasure today to welcome them, and my good friend Patrick, to City Hall and give you this honor. So a little bit of background. This weekend is the 100th anniversary, and we're going to celebrate it right here in Fresno. So you're bringing a lot of fraternity people here, families, to Fresno to make this celebration a success. So we've got 100 years of history, and it all started at Fresno High School, which is incredible. I went to Roosevelt, so we always won the Little Brown Pig, you know that. But we had this rivalry with Fresno High. We had a lot of good friends there. So at Fresno High, it started there, and this convention will be called a celebration of success. And I know it's really hard to hold everybody together for 100 years to keep the relationships and your fraternity going for that long. So congratulations. And it also keeps, since we have some Armenian people here from Armenia, this fraternity keeps Armenian traditions alive and well here in Fresno. So we appreciate that, and I wanted to let Patrick or Bob say a few words. Who wants to? Okay, Bob, you're on.
All right. The fraternity started 100 years ago in May, and it was started by 10 young men, and that's the reason for the 3 X's, the triple X's, and their goal was to go to 30, and again, that's the reason for the 3 X's. So their goal was to go to 30 members, and right now we have close to 800 members. We have 12 organizations or 12 chapters, 11 in California and 1 in Las Vegas. And the Fresno chapter, the Selma chapter, and the Sequoia chapter, which is Visalia, they're putting on this convention, a tri-chapter of celebration of success. But we've done many, many charitable contributions in the city of Fresno, especially Selma and Fresno. And so we thank you very much for honoring us for the 100 years, and hopefully we can be around here for another 100. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. And on a personal note, I was involved with a boxing club, a youth boxing club, and we had a fundraiser. And at the last minute, we lost our entire sound system. So this man standing to my left here, Patrick's Music, I went over and visited him, and I said, Patrick, we're desperate. This event will not go on unless I get a sound system. He says, no problem. Which one do you want? So he gave me a selection of about 3 fantastic systems, brought them over to our event, put it all together, and no one ever knew that we were so close to disaster. But Triple X and Patrick here saved the day for us. It's just another example of how great these people are and what they do for our community. So with that, could we read the proclamation, please?
Whereas the Triple X fraternity, also known as TREX fraternity, was originally formed by 8 young Armenians at Fresno High School in 1918, and whereas the fraternity was born out of the separation and lack of inclusion of the Armenians in the Central Valley in the early 20th century. The students who organized at Fresno High created their own events to enjoy with fellow Armenians and to continue the strong culture and inclusion of all. And whereas members of the original Fresno chapter were moving out of the Central Valley in the late 1920s, other chapters were established in San Francisco, Bay Area, and Los Angeles. As others moved across California, more chapters were created in a strong Armenian communities. And whereas the TREX fraternity has transitioned from a school fraternity to an organization that promotes charity, benevolence, mental improvement, and social culture in communities where they reside and to do business in, maintaining their strong Armenian culture while giving back to their community. And whereas while rooted with Armenian culture, they also seek to improve their communities, all the while upholding the principles of truth, justice, and loyalty. And whereas the grand chapter of the TREX fraternity has united a brotherhood that fights for the good of the community as a whole while putting differences in other facets of social beliefs aside. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Lee Brand and the Fresno City Council members do hereby celebrate the centennial celebration of the Triple X fraternity. Not only has the Brotherhood fought for the promotion of the charity in Central Valley, but in the state of California and beyond. Be it further resolved that we, Mayor Lee Brand, and the Fresno City Council members do hereby proclaim Thursday, August 30th, 2018, to be Trex Fraternity Day in the city of Fresno.
Councilman Capriolio, I'd love to say a couple of words if I could. To all you guys, I appreciate what you're doing. I'm a Selma boy, and I have a good friend, Dave Shapazian, I think that you know, who's a member of your group, and he puts together a poker tournament fundraiser that I play in to support your group. So thanks for all the good work that you guys do. I never won the tournament, but I threw in my $100.
Well, we have another presentation, but our honored guest is not here yet. And we have his family here and some students from Fresno State, the leadership. Welcome, you guys. Good to see you. So he's going to be totally blindsided by this. He thinks he's here for something totally different. So this is the first ever in the history of the city of Fresno. We're going to award a Man of the Year award, and that's to Dr. Joseph Castro. So he's an intricate part of our community. So when he comes in, if you all join me, we'll start chanting Castro, Castro, Castro. And I don't know if anybody knows CPR, get ready, because he might just drop. We don't know, because it's he's here for a totally different purpose. So and welcome to our students, our leadership from Fresno State and the family. Thank you guys for being here. So and the mayor is going to join me as soon as Dr. Castro gets here. He's extremely busy. Go, Cap, go. Go, Cap, go. So we're almost there. And this is Mary Castro. By the way, we had a first ever Woman of the Year, and she was the Woman of the Year at our first event. We've had 3 since. I'm waiting for a cue, but I don't see it. Okay. Anybody know any jokes? Any dancing, singing? I know. We're going to do the Castro. He is, I'm sure. Okay, more family members. Excellent. We had saved all these seats. I'm going, where's the family? Yes, come on down, grab a chair. So, Mary, can you come up here and join me for a minute? This is Mary Castro. She is the First Lady of Fresno State University and has done so much good work there. You're an inspiration for all of us, truly. So tell me about how we got this set up with Dr. Castro.
Well, you sprung this on us. And coordinating family without letting Joe know what's going on has been quite a trick. So he thinks he's coming here to meet with you about something very special.
Well,
he doesn't know what.
It is very special. That's the part's correct.
I tried to make him think it was something tricky and very high stress, so that he'll be relieved and happy when this happens.
Oh, good. Did he have a good morning?
He did. We had a great morning. We were just over at the Clovis Breakfast for Children. And there was a huge turnout and a lot of positive things happening in our community to support children, and that's what we get up for every day.
Well, I know you and Dr. Castro go to the outlying communities to encourage students of all ages to think about Fresno State University and come and join our group, our family, and we appreciate that. So I'm sure there are a few Clovis kids that are going to have their sights on Fresno State.
Oh, hopefully, yes. We just had a record number of enrollments, so we're off to a big start at Fresno State.
What is that enrollment number?
It's over 25,000.
Wow. When I was there, I think there were 700. When Lee was there was 400. Oh, yeah. 1800s, so we tied our horses up front, and because it was ag school and all that.
And
So
they're all excited and they're ready to go.
perfect. And then who are the family members we have here?
Family members, we have Joe's mom, Anne Marie Mendez, his sister, April Aquino. I have my parents, Manuel and Mary Borges, and our daughter, Lauren. Our godson, Kenny Borges. We have one of Joe's cousins, Jeannie Baxter. We have more cousins here with the Juarez family, Tim and Christine Juarez, and their children. So we're just very blessed to. This is part of the blessings of getting to come and serve where you grew up, is to get to be around your family and to get to serve people that mean the most to you.
Well, your family is an excellent example of that. We admire you and appreciate you and your family so much for being here today and all the things you've done. I think Dr. Castro started about the time I did in, I think it was 2012. 13 with the university, and we've had a long, winding road together. It's been fantastic for me.
Beginning of our 6th year. So.
And we have ASI student representatives here.
Yes.
And
She's our newest president. We're excited about her. And we have Blake, our former president. So he's got a new hairdo, so I didn't see him right off the bat. Yeah, but, our students are so incredible. And getting to serve with we feel like we're serving with them, with the ASI representatives, and really hearing from them the type of campus they want and working every day to make that possible.
And we have a new student union on the books, correct?
Yes, that's going to be exciting. I can't wait till they get that built, because it'll be a wonderful place for students to meet and get more of the college experience and network.
And part of that experience, let me just say this. At Fresno State University, every year they donate more than 1 million community service hours. 1 million each and every year. That's 1 million plus, so that's quite an achievement.
It is. Last year we were recognized as being #1 in the country for our work-study hours being turned back into the community, and this year we're #2, so we're up there in the top, and that's out of every institution.
The entire country.
That's right.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Yes, they do. I think it comes from leadership as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we go, folks. We'll start. Laura, can you run faster, please? My goodness. That's my chief of staff. She is the best. I couldn't do all this without her. Gary, is he outside? Is Dr. Castro outside the door? Okay. Let's do it loud and proud, just like the way we do it in Fresno. And I'm sure you do that way in Armenia, too. So let's get that Armenian voice up loud, too, okay? Triple X, I know you're going to be there. Down the hall? Okay. Hey, young lady, how are you? Thanks for being here.
What happened?
Earlier, good morning, sir. We were talking about Fresno State, and then we segued to Fresno High with these gentlemen here, and of course Roosevelt High. And
Go Rough Riders.
You guys were Warriors were good. Rough Riders were great. Just so you know, it's been a while since we've been in high school, I think.
I was 1967. He was 1857.
Ladies and gentlemen, Castro, 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 Castro. How are you, sir?
Well, how are you doing?
You look a little shaky. What's going on here?
What's going on?
Well, it's all about you. How about that?
Really?
All these people here, your family and all.
God, look at this.
Are you a little stunned?
Yes.
That's good. Mission accomplished.
What's going on here?
Well, today
I thought we were having a meeting.
we are right now. You're the keynote person and probably speaker too. So, anyway, it's this is the first time I mentioned it earlier, but you didn't hear it. This is the first time in the history of Fresno City Council, over 100 years, that we've ever done Man of the Year. So this occasion is for you. So you are the 2018 Man of the Year, District 4, City of Fresno. Congratulations, sir. Yeah. He's speechless, so I'll fill us in a little bit. So as we've heard earlier, before you got here, we talked to Mary, and she's such a great speaker and great PR person. But so we talked about the school and your family and what's been going on. But I say this here for you, because you know this and you earned this along with our people here. Today, we're not only celebrating you, but also Fresno State, because they placed 24th in the list of top national universities, according to Washington Monthly, in the entire United States of America. A round of applause. Yes. Hard work. And Fresno State was selected alongside 7 Ivy League institutions, including top-ranked. We're going to get there, but top-ranked right now is Harvard University. 6 University of California campuses and MIT were on the list. Furthermore, Fresno State ranks 12th among 17 public institutions in these rankings. So it's all under the bold leadership of Dr. Joseph Castro. So congratulations, my sir. Lee, would you like to say a few words?
I'm honored to be here. It's been a pleasure to work with you the last 2 years. The fate of Fresno State and the fate of the city of Fresno are on the same line. What's good for Fresno is good for Fresno State, and what's good for Fresno State is good for the city of Fresno. He's a man who leads with integrity, compassion, moral clarity. He's decisive. And one guy I can say probably has a more difficult job than I do. We all know we have our challenges, but I'm just truly honored, Joe, to be here as your partner and to recognize the many achievements you've done. It's always been in the past, all the athletic achievements of Fresno State, but the academic achievements, really as an alumni of Fresno State, makes me proud, and I'm glad to endorse your Be Bold philosophy. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yes. And we teasingly he calls me Pablo or Pablito once in a while. And we are bold dogs. We're bulldogs, but we're also bold dogs thanks to you and bringing that philosophy to the university and to the students. And over 25,000 this year. and 14. So with that, Madam Clerk, would you please read the proclamation for this outstanding Man of the Year?
All righty. Whereas Joseph Castro was born in Hanford and is a descendant of immigrants from Mexico, making him the first Latino and Central Valley native to be named president of California State University, Fresno. And whereas the Central Valley shaped Joseph's outlook on life and education, which pushed him to obtain a PhD in higher education and leadership from Stanford University after receiving a BA in political science and a master's in public policy from the University of California, Berkeley. And whereas the addition of the addition of Discover E-Tablet program,
come up, please? Your whole family,
under Joseph Castro's leadership, has pushed the campus further into the 21st century, which incorporates tablet technology in classroom. And whereas Joseph Castro received the Stanford Graduate School of Education in 2016, Alumni Excellence in Education, just 3 years after being selected for the job at Fresno State, where he started to push the campus into bold new directions. Under Joseph Castro's presidency, the school was ranked 17th in the nation by Washington Monthly's annual college poll in 2017, outranking some of the nation's top-performing schools. And whereas In Money Magazine's most recent ranking of higher education institution, Fresno State placed 66 out of 727 schools reviewed across the nation. Not only has Fresno State improved in graduation rates, but has remained affordable for students who strive to obtain a degree in Central California. And whereas not only has Dr. Castro made improvement to the graduation rate, but he has also reached out to communities in Central California to recruit. Eager young students from across the valley and beyond are intrigued as to what Fresno State can offer. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Mayor Lee Brand and the Fresno City Council members do hereby honor and recognize Dr. Joseph Castro as the Council District 4's 2018 Man of the Year. Be it further resolved that we, Mayor Lee Brand and the Fresno City Council members do hereby proclaim Thursday, August 30th, 2018 to be Dr. Joseph Castro Day in the city of Fresno.
Congratulations, Man of the Year. That's what you get for being bold, see?
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Yes, and if you always go out to the lobby, we'll take a picture out there. And my friends at Triple X, we'd like to do a photo op with you outside, too, if you would, please. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for helping me with our chant of Castro. And, sorry? Dr. Castro? Need another picture with you. We got our paparazzi here. Say a few words. Are you overwhelmed?
I am overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed and very surprised, but mostly very grateful. And I just want to thank everybody here. Larry told me we're coming to meet Pablo just for business, and so I knew something was up because we parked in a different place. And anyway, I'm very surprised, but deeply honored, and it's a great privilege to serve as the president of Fresno State. And I promise you, Pablo, Councilman Capriolio, and Mayor Brand, and all the elected officials, that we'll continue to work hard to serve our students well and help them to become leaders, just like the two of you have become leaders as Fresno State alumni. So thank you so much. It's a great honor.
Thank you. Well deserved. Thank you, sir.
President Castro.
Thank you.
President Castro, I just wanted to say congratulations. Very deserving. Thank you for your bold leadership. It really is a testament to the hard work that you've done over the last few years here in really transforming our students. Thank you.
And I join in that sentiment, Dr. Castro. You know, what a befitting honor. The first time we ever do this, that it goes to you. You've come into our community and completely embraced our community, and we've embraced you back. So we're very honored to have you here. You're much more than a college president. You are one of our community leaders and community gems. So thank you very much.
Dr. Castro, thank you. Dr. Castro, thanks for all that you do. Tremendous job.
So we're going to break for about 15 minutes. There's a special reception, and then the council will convene back in closed session around 10 a.m.
Should I read the closed session?
Yes.
So in the closed session, we will have a security discussion concerning City Hall and city facilities, existing litigation, Hawley versus City of Fresno, real property negotiation concerning the listed APN, and labor negotiation concerning FCEA and 39.
So we'll continue on with the agenda. We are in the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes of August 16, 2018?
No changes.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Councilmember Olivier. I'll go ahead and second that. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion carries 6-0 with Councilmember Caparillo absent. We'll go on and to Councilmember reports and comments. Councilmember Olivier.
Thank you. I'm in a very talkative mood today, but I wanted to commend and thank city staff on their response to a vacant building in my district. Their response was very swift and it was very effective. The other night, I called 911 because I started to get calls from constituents about this house. And so just like anyone else, I called 911. There was a house that had 4 transients in it, and they were using electricity and the water, and they were frightening the people that lived on the street. And so police came out. 2 of those individuals were taken to county jail because they had warrants. And then the other 2 were told to leave. The next day, police came back out with our code enforcement, and there was more transients in the property. They were thrown out, and the property was boarded up. PG&E turned off the electricity. Department of Public Utilities turned off the water. It was a response that would have been unheard of 8 years ago when I got here. That's how effective the city government is running right now, especially on this issue of the vacant boarded up homes. So I wanted to commend the police department, code enforcement, the housing manager, Kelly Furtado, and city manager, because the response was really fantastic and very effective. And so looking forward now to find out who that owner is and get that property rented out or sold, so that way we can get a family in there instead of blight. So I appreciate city staff. Wanted to commend you all. Thank you.
Councilmember Brendo.
Yes, Madam President and my colleagues, I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Molly Tibbetts. That was a story of national tragedy that had some roots here in Fresno. Casey Austin Tibbetts, who joins us in council meetings probably 20 times a year, is Molly's stepmother. And then also Max Carlson, who works in the city clerk's office. Thank you. Max Carlson is Molly's stepbrother by marriage. And so I just want to remember these folks that have spent a lot of time back in Iowa trying to figure out what went wrong, and this family that was impacted is a Fresno family. So I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in her memory.
Thank you. I'll also like to add and request to adjourn today's meeting in memory of the retired firefighter Arthur Katengian, also known as Mickey, who was hired back in 1964 and retired in 1993, but continued to work very hard still and very involved with our community. And so I'd like to adjourn in his memory. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, because we're a little bit behind, rather than take on the contested consent calendar items, I'm going to go on to the scheduled hearings. So we'll go on to the scheduled 10 a.m. By Gonzalo Arambula. If you want to come on forward, state your name, address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Good morning, members of the council. I'm addressing the council once more because my parole officer is still refusing to provide me housing, even though I've been doing all the programs that he requested. Also on the side, even though I'm homeless, I'm doing some research for some of the things, the ones the city might need it or the city will need to do it, because there are many people on the streets and they can be in some places. You have so many business, houses, facilities empty or abandoned. And also, I just addressed one of the members of your council about regarding the parking by the VA hospital, which is, you guys don't have nothing to do with it. So I'm going to address it through the BA administration. But today, my concern is the police department is getting too slow to respond. It was on the street right across from Mariposa and M of a big bag, paper bag, and it has a label for silica quartz. It's a powder that they use for packing or protecting some of the products. But if you touch it, just the powder is dangerous for your skin. And it took more than an hour for them to do something until the fire department show up. It's kind of dangerous for anyone to pass by, even though my homeless college, which is kind of nonsense why it took more than an hour for them to send the fire department to pick it up. I picked it up part, but the powder I cannot do it because I have no disposable gloves. It shouldn't be that way. Now, getting back to my problem is that still not get response from, okay, I still have 1 minute. So I'm asking to you city councils to give me some support and let me have some place to live. For that way I don't sleep in the streets or by the courthouse right across the street, which is nonsense. I'm a USA citizen. I become a citizen of the United States because I pay my taxes and also I follow up. I respect the law of this country, but this country and this state is betraying me by leaving me homeless after 19 years paying my taxes. So if you please do something with this parole office, which they're not doing nothing for people like me. Mainly they are in a wheelchair. I've been in a wheelchair since 1997, which it is nonsense. I'm sorry, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Capriello, did you have?
I missed council comments, so I wanted to put on the record to thank my D4 team, Laura, Kathy, Maria, and Taylor for the excellent job they did this morning honoring Dr. Joseph Castro as Man of the Year. And Dr. Castro wanted me to extend an invitation to the city of Fresno and all the people in the audience to please come out to the stadium this weekend and support the Bulldogs. It's their first home game against Wyoming, and it should be a great event, a lot of fun, and well attended. So you're all invited. If you do make it to the game, we'll get you into President Castro's suite. Just a little incentive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go on to the 10 a.m. hearing number 2. Public Works, continued hearing to adopt resolutions and ordinance to annex territory and levy special tax regarding City of Fresno CFD number 9.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Bonelli with the Public Works Department. This is a Community Facilities District annexation into District number 9, which is our district that handles commercial properties and multifamily. This property is at the corner of Nielsen and West. It is in Council District 3. The assessment would be $1,020 annually, and we have received the ballots back from the property owners. They are all in favor of this annexation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. Motion by Councilmember Baines and second by Councilmember Capriello. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 6-0 with Councilmember Chavez absent. Next, we'll move on to hearing 10 a.m. hearing number 3, Public Works.
Thank you. Andrew Bonelli again with Public Works. This is also an annexation into Community Facilities District number 9. This is a property, it's a gas station that's being constructed at Herndon and Riverside. It is in Council District number 2. Their assessment will be $1,159 per year, and we have received the ballots, and the owners are in support of joining this facilities district. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Motion by Councilmember Brandau, second by Councilmember Capriolio. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Chavez absent. Next, we have item scheduled for 10:20, number 1. And this is by DARM. This is a hearing considering plan amendment application A18004 and much more in Council District 4.
Good morning, Council President Soria, Council members, Will Tackett, Development and Resource Management Department. The project before you is a plan amendment, pre-zone and annexation for approximately 78 acres of property to facilitate development of 210 single-family units on approximately 43 acres of property proposed by Woodside Homes. Staff does have a presentation available if the council so desires. Otherwise, we have no changes to our recommendations and are available to field any questions. Thank you.
Great, so we'll go out to public comment. We have a couple people that have turned in cards. Mr. Chang and then Carrie McDellin. So if you guys can come right up. If you can state your name, address for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Carrie Medellin, 624 Serena Avenue, Clovis, California, 93619. Good morning. My name is Carrie Medellin. I am the controller for the Central Valley Division of Woodside Homes. We are very excited to be building back in the city of Fresno. We opened our first community in Fresno in 2005 and have appreciated and valued the relationship that we have had with staff and with the city as we have built these communities. In addition, we have received consent from everyone who is affected by this annexation, and so we are looking forward to moving forward. I can answer any questions, and we also have our civil engineer available if you have any technical questions that we can answer for you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Chang still here? Okay, is there anyone else from the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais.
Motion to approve.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Capriolio and a second by Councilmember Baines. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 6-0 with Councilmember Chavez absent. We'll go on to the next hearing, 10:20, number 2. And this is Public Works. Continued here to consider the official plan line for the North Temperance Avenue alignment.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Bonelli again with Public Works Department. And the item we have before you today is consideration of an official plan line for Temperance Avenue. This is from Route 180 to Clinton Avenue, which is mostly in Fresno County. But there are some parts of Temperance that are within the city. The areas in the city are near Clinton Avenue and also near Belmont. Temperance Avenue is the dividing line between Growth Area 1 and Growth Area 2. So east of Temperance is in Growth Area 2. West of Temperance is in Growth Area 1. Temperance is designated as a 6-lane superarterial in the 2035 general plan. Superarterials have a median island and left turn in and out of developed properties are limited to about every half mile. Temperance was designated as an expressway in the 2025 general plan, and it's been downgraded to a superarterial with the 2035 general plan. Expressways are like Herndon and Friant. Superarterial is more like Clovis or Shaw. We've had 3 public meetings, all at Boris Elementary School at the corner of Clinton and Temperance. They've all been well attended, primarily by homeowners in the area. We had Councilmember Capriolio and County Supervisor Nathan Masick at the last meeting. And many of the homeowners expressed concerns about impacts of right-of-way to their properties and also a desire not to be annexed to the city. They also expressed concerns about noise and air pollution, access to their properties, and other impacts related to development. We did have a public hearing at the Planning Commission. Planning Commission did recommend approval of the official plan line. One of the main requests or recommendations received at the public meetings has been to reduce the roadway to a 4-lane facility and remove the median island. The 2025 general plan designated temperance as 6-lane superarterial, and at that time a traffic study was done that indicated that 6 lanes were needed. Although that study was a citywide study, we commissioned Peters Engineering to do an additional study, and through their work they determined that if the roadway was reduced to a 4-lane roadway, the level of service would deteriorate to a level of service F during the build out. So from their analysis, we did determine that 6 lanes were needed. The reason for the official plan line is to provide certainty for properties that develop. It also assists the city staff in being able to be assured that homes or other structures aren't built within a future right-of-way. This is a plan line. It's not a construction project at this time, and there is no construction planned in the near future. We do have several projects in the area, subdivisions that have been proposed. We looked at a traffic study just recently for a school that's being built in this area. They identified 39 proposed projects in the area, many of them residential subdivisions, some commercial projects, and a couple of schools. All generate traffic and increase the need for more lanes on Temperance Avenue. That really concludes my part of the presentation, but I do have Scott Tyler's with me. Scott is going to talk a little bit about the actual plan line, the route that's been recommended, and some of the other technical details of the project.
Good morning, Council. Scott Tyler, Public Works. This slide does not appear to be changing. As Mr. Bonelli stated, with the limits of this OPL is between State Route 180 and Clinton Avenue. There's a previous official plan line, but it wasn't called a plan line before. It was called a precise plan line that was recorded by the city and county in 1964 with 106 feet of right-of-way. The alignment, the current right-of-way, typical right-of-way for the road is centered on a section line. It's 30 feet on each side, so you have 60 feet. When the adopted precise plan line was implemented, it added an additional 46 feet to the east. So that brought the planned right-of-way to 106 feet. Again, going over what Mr. Bonelli has previously stated, these are the limits of the project. So as with 106 feet, that would accommodate an divided arterial 4-lane road. Since we have updated with the general plan from the expressway to a superarterial, all showing this as a 6-lane, the 106 feet will not accommodate a 6-lane facility, including a trail. A 6-lane facility, as you can see on the above cross-section for city standards, is 124 feet, plus 26 feet for the trail. So what we did was we looked at the alignment of the road. Right now, it's presently, the center line of the road is 23 feet east of the section line. So instead of just drawing a straight line and having impacts on one side of the street or the other, we took the alignment of the road to try to meander it through to minimize the impacts along the homes on this route. The changes in that from the 180 to South McKinley, we shifted the center of the road to 31 feet, and then we brought the road back north of McKinley to where the center line of the road is within 1 foot of the section line. By doing this, we minimized the impacts to homes. There was only one home that was impacted because of the trail, and it would be impacted from this. There was one home that was approximately 13 feet from the trail right-of-way. And there were 5 homes that were within the 30 to 40 feet range setback, and the remainder of the homes were well in excess of 40 feet. And there were over 50 homes that we counted that would be well over 50 feet. So staff recommends adopting the finding of conformity to the Fresno General Plan Master Environmental Impact Report as prepared by Environmental Assessment number EA 17018, filed September 29, 2017, and also adopt a bill approving the official plan line for the North Temperance Avenue alignment from State Route 180 to East Clinton Avenue pursuant to the Fresno General Plan land use and circulation map. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. So we'll go out to the public. There are 2 cards filled out. We'll start with Jessica Gabrielson and then Tom Nelson. If you can come forward, state your name, address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Jessica Gabrielson, 7119 East Laurel Avenue, Fresno 93737.
Do you want to put the mic a little bit lower so that you're speaking to it? There you go.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you need me to repeat?
Go ahead.
Jessica Gabrielson, 7119 East Laurel Avenue, Fresno 93737. I live in the area that we're talking about. I live on a cul-de-sac street where the only access is Temperance. And the way it is right now, we're just north of the 180 freeway, and there's no access into our street other than to fight the traffic that's trying to merge to get into the left lane to go north. So we're already having enough problems as it is. If you go ahead and widen it, it's going to take away the integrity of our whole area. People move there to be in the country. We want to be suburban. We don't want to be annexed into the city. We've been there for many years, and we all built custom homes around there, and now we're having to give way to these little tiny tract homes, which is unfair to us. We feel that if you would go to Fowler to make it wider, that would be impacting far fewer homes than our area, and at the very most, it shouldn't be more than 4 lanes. There are a lot of other streets where they're building homes to the east of us and to the west of us, and those streets can be made 4 lanes that should adequately handle all the traffic that should be coming there without impacting us by making us go way out of our way to try to get in and out with our trailers and other vehicles that we have where we move to the country to be able to have this luxury of more peace and quiet. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Nelson? If you can state your name and address for the record, then you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Tom Nelson. My address is 1702 North Temperance, Fresno 93727. While waiting, some of my questions were actually answered by the 2 gentlemen who just presented. The basic reason I came this morning was just to see why 6 lanes rather than 4. My own house is far enough off the road where I'm fine, but some people just living near me, they're going to be opening their front door to traffic. So that was my reason I came today, but just wondering why. Clovis Avenue is 6 lanes, but it has businesses. It's mainly residential where I live, and so that was the main reason I came, although some of once again, my questions were answered. But that was my question, basically.
Thank you. Great. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Capriolio.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. Motion to approve by Councilmember Capriolio, second by Councilmember Bredefeld. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Councilmember Baines and Councilmember Olivier absent. Next, what I'm going to do before we go to the contested consent, there are 2 folks that are here for unscheduled communication. Not sure if they're still here. There's not a name on this card, but it says the North Venice Boulevard Committee. Is there someone here from the North Venice Boulevard Committee? They may have left. Okay. And I think they were here to thank us for watering the median island on Venice Boulevard. Next, we have Gary. If you want to come down, state your name, address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Gary, and we got a problem. The Fresno, let's see. Okay, yeah, we got a problem with the buses again. The bats. Every time I go to Fresno City College on Blackstone, their drivers is so rude. The seat's full, and the driver's not doing their job right. Because every time the seat's full, the wheelchairs, and every time I get on the bus in the morning, and we don't get a chance to sit down. And I already did talk to the driver one time, and I already did talk to bus one, and I already told them, I says, you guys going to have to do your job, or it's time me to go to the city. And Quint already knows about it. So anyway, so yeah. And then the one thing is, let's see. Fresno on Blackstone Ashland, all the homeless people hang out to the Walmart, and because Hank camped out too much, and I saw the RB2 on the street, so we have to get that done. So, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Anyone else here for unscheduled communication? The time is now. See none, we'll go ahead and move on with the rest of the agenda. We'll go to contested consent. Item 1A, which is to approve an amendment to the contract with NBS. Darm.
Yes, this is a simple amendment to the current contract we have that will just allow staff to finish the work that's already been performed, and there is there's not an ask for any additional monies on this contract.
Yeah, just a quick question for you. How are you doing the analysis of the fees? How's the comparison? What is the comparison?
Well, essentially what is happening is we have provided our consultant NBS all the information they had requested, and they are following the standard Nexus model to perform a fee analysis. So they take everything into consideration, including direct, indirect costs, overhead, and they come up with adjusted fees, which we have to evaluate. So essentially we're taking our entire fee structure for building safety as well as planning, and they're crunching the numbers to give us a new fee schedule. That has to be thoroughly vetted internally before we bring it back to this body.
Do they do analysis with other cities?
Yes, that is one of the requests that we've made, put in our contract with them, is to look at other cities and what they're charging and do a comparative. And they will have that when this does come back to council for consideration.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Great. So there's a motion by Councilmember Bredefeld, second by Councilmember Baines. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, there is a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0 with Councilmember Capriolio and Councilmember Olivier absent. Next item that was pulled was item 1G, authorize the Chief of Police to enter into 4 separate agreements between the Housing Authority, Fresno Edison Apartments, Southeast Fresno Rental Assistance, and the Viking Village Rental Assistant.
Hey, Chief.
Good morning.
I just was curious about this. I guess is it a program that you're kind of doing? Is it new? How long has it been going on? And
Yeah, didn't spell out the history of it in the council item, but we've been involved in a partnership with the Housing Authority, City of Fresno, for over 20 years. During that time, they have paid for police officers and or community service officers to operate within some of their sites. Currently, we're up to about 14 sites. And so this is a renewal of that, of those contracts, and that allows for 2 officers, primarily in the southeast and southwest policing districts, to be in 14 different sites. They do a number of things for the Housing Authority and for those in terms of running backgrounds on some of the tenants, making sure that the people that are going to be staying in those locations are not going to be problematic. And they also respond to calls within those complexes to prevent officers from the field from having to respond. And then they do a number of community projects within those sites as well. And the Housing Authority pays, I believe it's $296,000 this year. And that will fund not only the 2 police officers, but about 25% of the patrol vehicles and some overtime.
And so it's just the 2 officers for all the 14?
Yes, it's 2. It's some of those complexes are more maintenance intensive than others, but yeah, it's grown to about 14 different sites in those 2 districts. And I think in the near future, we're probably going to be having a discussion about maybe expanding the presence of officers so that they're not so spread out. But currently, they're paying for 2.
Okay, and so you see this. I'm just wondering the need for this is because these areas are a lot of calls. I mean, why these 14 units with Housing Authority as opposed to something else?
These are all locations that have been really chosen by the Housing Authority where they felt that there should be an increased presence of officers. And there are also locations that we know that if we don't have a presence, that there is a potential for incidents to arise to where it's going to necessitate the presence of officers coming from the field. Okay. So it's more of a proactive problem-solving approach, having those officers present, and probably the main thing is screening those tenants to make sure that we're not getting bad tenants in there. You get a few bad tenants in a complex, it can ruin the entire complex.
Okay. All right, and make a motion to approve.
Great. So there's a motion and a second. I did have just a couple questions, Chief. So are these like requested by the Housing Authority? Is that how this agreement came about?
Yeah, it's been, again, well over 20 years ago when the Housing Authority first started providing for it. At that time it was called ENPH officers, Evict Narcotics from Public Housing. That's how it originated and then evolved into this. But that was what it was for. Initially, they had a lot of drug activity occurring in certain complexes where these individuals were staying, and that was for the purpose of heading that off. Eventually, it's grown into what we have today.
And I did hear you mention some like potential partnerships or events within these apartment complexes. Is the model that you guys will be using like more community policing model? Yeah. I'm interested in, I know presence is important.
Yes. It not only will be, but has been over the years. Those officers that are dedicated to those complexes put on community events. Officer Steve Hunt in Southwest Fresno put on a large block party for one here recently and brought in a number of social service providers, food, entertainment, etc. So they're really community policing officers that are dedicated to those sites. They get to know the residents. People get to know them. They're accessible. So it's more than a uniform presence. And sometimes it's not even a uniform that they're wearing, but they are the go-to person for those locations and the residents.
How do those numbers impact our, like, the daily staffing and all that sort of stuff? Is it just completely dedicated to the complex, or do they also address surrounding neighborhood issues that may arise?
The way the contract is written, that these officers are dedicated to those sites. However, should there be a need arise, an emergency response needed by those officers anywhere in the city, they're available to respond. But they're not part of our minimum staffing levels or preferred staffing levels. They're dedicated above and beyond that to those locations.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you, Council.
Councilmember Baines.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, just kind of echoing what the chief said. I know you and I kind of had a little sidebar a moment ago, and I remember when that program started, the EMPH program, and those officers, and Council President Story is asking really the right questions, but those officers really do become like members of the complex with those community, particularly the officers that I remember, and Steve Hunt's one of them. Steve is a great officer, but those officers really do form relationships with the residents. They become a part of those complexes in many cases, so it's a good program, and I remember that. I was an officer when it started, so it's gone on a long time, and I think it served the housing authority and the police department well.
Yeah, honestly, it's a great model to replicate citywide if you had a sufficient number of officers do that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion by Councilmember Bredefeld and a second by Councilmember Baines. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have item 1L. This is to approve the Third Amendment to Granicus Service Agreement and the City of Fresno City Clerk. And I pulled this item, I think, for discussion. Councilmember Brandau and I had briefly discussed this at the beginning of the meeting. And maybe you can just, Yvonne, you can talk a little bit about what we're hoping to accomplish with this amendment.
Okay, so the amendment actually covers 3 modules of Granicus. It's the Boards and Commission module to help us manage the boards and commissions more efficiently. There is the minutes module, which will allow us to type in information as the council meeting goes on and be 80% complete with our minutes after the meeting. So that'll reduce a lot of time that we spend entering information after the meeting. And the last one is the e-comments module. And currently there are several cities in California using that. Some is back as far as 2011, San Diego, Riverside, Oakland, Long Beach, San Jose, and Mill Valley. E-comments allow citizens to comment on upcoming agenda items, which add community members' voices to the democratic process and make citizen participation in public meetings more convenient. Everyone's not able to come down to the meeting. Maybe they're working, maybe they're disabled, so we want to make it convenient for them. It also reduces fuel emissions, traffic congestion, parking, and other environmental effects associated with travel to public meetings. With e-comments, citizens can choose if they're for, against, or neutral on an item and add comments, or they can also request to speak using e-comments, and that instead of filling out a card, they would be in the system already for you to call them up. Let's see. Also, e-comments is very flexible. We can choose the agenda items that we want to have comments on. If there's something like a workshop or minutes approval and things like that where people typically don't speak on, we can exclude those. And if there's any other items that we prefer that they come down to the council to discuss, we don't have to include that. Let's see. We also have the ability to to allow them certain characters so that they don't go on and on and on, pages full. So we're thinking about 500 to 700 characters per comment. And let's see.
I think that's a pretty good summary of what we're trying to do. And I think, I'm going to be supportive of this item because I believe in transparency and making sure that we make government accessible in any way. And with all the technological advances, I think that there's a great opportunity for us to be on the front end of allowing folks to engage with us if they can't be here. Our meetings generally start in the morning, and many folks are working, so I think it is a great way for folks that can't be here to still be able to engage with us and let us know what they're thinking on particular items. I did want to just, for clarification and as part of the motion to approve this item, I do want to just say that there should be an understanding that this change could be brought back to the council so that we look over I don't know if it's policies and procedures or council rules and procedures to go into detail about how many characters, at what point are we going to just kind of set some rules and procedures about people providing comment through this technology or through Granicus. So I would include that as part of my motion to support the item. So, and Councilmember seconds that. Councilmember Olivia, you punched up?
Yeah, I punched up, and I'm, again, I don't know why I have so many things on my mind to share with you today, but I do. Madam Clerk, thank you very much for bringing this to us. Thank you very much for, it seems like you've done a lot of research, and it sounds like a real, it could be a good thing for the city and a good idea, but it's your turn now, so I'm going to bring up a couple of things. And it's not my intention to put you on the spot or anything like that. Is it part of this? It sounds like it's going to be a very labor-intensive item. And the reason why is because, so I guess the first question is, if we're going to allow public comment on some of the items and then not on other items, who is the city employee that decides what items will be open for public comment and which items public comment will be closed?
I would imagine that during the agenda conference, we could identify any that needs to be excluded. If it's a land use, I understand from the city attorney that's an issue that we don't want to open up to the public for comment. So I think when we're discussing the agenda as a whole, we can decide then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. The next question is, to run this, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not labor intensive, or it is, and the other question is, how many hours a week will it take from your staff to make this happen?
Actually, it will not be that difficult, because just like we publish our agenda today, any items that is open for e-comment, there's a column for it. If you look on our page right now, we have the agenda, the minutes, the video, then there would be a column for e-comment on the agenda items. And actually, the other thing is, when we get all this data, we will have a start time, which is probably when the agenda is posted, and an end time, which is probably a few hours the day before the meeting. We will cut it off, and then we generate a report, which we will give to all the council members, so you can see if anybody in your district has any issues. And I just think it will make a lot of sense to find out what your districts are doing and what they want.
Did the proposal come with any feedback on, for example, Long Beach? Was it widely used, or is it not widely used, or what are the amounts of people that choose to do this instead of like call or email?
I really think it depends on the makeup of the community, because some of the communities didn't have a lot of people participate, but others had a lot, and felt that it reduced actually the number of PRAs because they can find the information online instead of asking the clerk's office or someone else to get it for them.
And everything, is this, and I guess this is for the city attorney, the system, it's not going to create a legal problem. We haven't seen anything like this surface with legal problems in other municipalities. Legal is completely okay with this?
Well, I think as long as the parameters are addressed in the council rules of procedure, that will help a lot. The legal issues, I could see First Amendment. We can't be censoring anything and so forth as it's submitted. And as the city clerk mentioned with land use matters, we're building an administrative record. And sometimes, especially when CEQA is involved, we're required to analyze, possibly respond to comments. And depending upon the volume of comments, our lawyers could be really busy going through those and potentially working with DARM to respond and that kind of thing. So I think as long as the council addresses the parameters with the rules of procedure, then I think that would be fine.
When will we have the opportunity to do that?
We could start working with the council president and city clerk to come up with some changes in the rules.
And part of that?
No, thank you.
Well, we'd be happy
That's enough civil liberties for one day for me.
To include your input. But I think that over the next few weeks, we would be getting together so that we do bring something in a timely manner to be able to address those issues that you raised up. But I think what this is about making government more accessible and more transparent for our community. Councilmember Capriolio.
You know, we're all in favor of transparency and community participation and the little buzzwords that we hear all the time and protecting our tax dollars, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that applies across all 7 of us here on the dais. My concern is if this doesn't work out, can we opt out of the contract? It's like $31,200 per year. And I don't know if we can opt out or not, assuming this doesn't meet our expectations.
So so I heard somebody said yes, but the contract is for a year. The e-comment in particular is only less than $5,000. It's the other modules that it's more expensive, but the e-comment is pretty cheap.
Affordable.
But we can opt out after a year. We can evaluate it.
So that we can include that as part of the motion, so evaluate it, like do kind of a pilot and see how it goes. And if we need to modify any rules, procedures to address that, I think that that would be also.
Thank you for that. I think I'll be abstaining on this. I don't have enough information, and risk to reward in the balancing process is not complete in my mind yet, so I'll be abstaining.
Councilmember Brando.
Yeah, I might have missed something, Yvonne. I was going to ask this question. Oliver and I chatted for a second. So did I understand correctly or incorrectly? Can somebody at home, they can make comments, e-comments. Can they also be queued up to speak at a council meeting?
Yeah, that's correct. They can choose to either sign up as an e-comment and make the comment about the item, or say they want to speak, and there would be a reporter. You can pull it up, especially as Esmeralda uses her iPad, but you can see who needs to speak, who is here to talk, and instead of getting a card, they would be in the system.
Okay. So, see, Oliver, they can queue up to speak.
From home?
Yes, they can register to speak, or they can make the comment. They have a choice. Yeah.
But they can't speak to
No, not
us from home.
No, they have to
Right.
be here.
That's what he was asking.
Okay,
They
gotcha.
can't speak from home.
Thank you.
They can
Queue up.
They can queue up like people fill out a card here.
Okay.
They can do
They
that
can
from
queue
home,
up.
but they still have to come here to speak.
They can't speak from home. Okay, well, all right. That really helps because our speaker/intercom system is supremely challenged.
Yeah.
So, all right. And then the cost, what is the cost? Where does the $5,000 cost come from? Is that just part of the software package, or is that part of personnel that have to monitor the comments and so forth?
There's 3 modules, keep in mind, and one is for managing our minutes during the meeting, and so that's one cost. Another cost is the software for the boards and commissions management. That's another cost. And then there's less than $5,000 for the e-comments, and that's another cost. When you add them up together, it's like $31,000.
Yeah, but that cost is we're paying Granicus for that part of the software, which
Yes.
does that.
Yes.
It's not that we have to pay some of your staff to
Oh,
sit
no.
back there
Oh, no.
and, okay, all right.
And I think Councilmember Baines and I just had a conversation. I think we essentially approved appropriating this in the budget.
Yes, it's been
And has been discussed previously, yeah. So we all, this is just so that we can enter into the agreement.
Yes, I just want to remind council, we had this discussion about all of this during the budget, all of it. So,
So
I'm just saying,
there is a motion.
So we should move this along.
Yeah, so there's a motion and a second.
You know, I'm going to, Council President, I believe I'm going to support, I have some concerns about it still, but if you're going to come back and my concern.
Want to be in the subcommittee?
If you, yeah, I don't mind. But I would like, so my concerns are that even though it's online, we still respect some of the rules that we have in council meeting. For instance, there's a limited amount of time that somebody gets to speak. That would be translated into words on a page. And then also, you don't allow people to get crazy and
Profanity.
start cussing and profanity and stuff like that. Maybe some of that stuff. We don't allow people to call names and all that kind of stuff. I'd like to see some of that included in the online version of these comments. All right.
I just wanted to add, just for your knowledge, that a lot of the cities we looked at has a disclaimer before they sign in to speak, and it lists things such as that. No
Okay.
profanity,
All right.
etc.
Perfect.
So we could do something
Awesome.
similar.
So there is a motion and a second.
Hey.
Councilmember Bredefeld.
How many other cities are doing this, City Clerk, right now?
I don't have a number across the United States. I just looked at California cities, and I think it's about 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
But they've been doing it since 2011 also. Some of them have been experienced with it for a long time.
Okay. And City Attorney, you mentioned you're concerned about the number of comments that would come online, let's say on SEQA, that your attorneys would then have to review those comments, and you're concerned about time factors. I mean, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, especially with land use and CEQA matters, you're building an administrative record for that item. And if there is an appeal or lawsuit based upon that, we had to have considered those things. Somebody will be required, probably DARM and lawyers, to go through all these comments and potentially address them and deal with whatever the comments might be. So it's just, there will be some additional time involved doing that.
But we can also exclude those from e-comments, and then they would just be speakers like normal. Every item does not have to have an e-comment.
But if there is an e-comment, you can't exclude somebody who wants to comment once we have this, right?
They can always come down to City Hall like they do now, but if we have the authority to say which items get to be open to e-comment or not.
Oh, so you could exclude the land use, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They can always send us letters or anything like that. This is just another mechanism to allow folks to submit comments. And I think if there's concerns about the land use, we could either not include those or also put time limitations. And I think that that's pretty reasonable as well. But I think that we can have those conversations when we bring back the rules and procedures. And I'm happy to work with, if Councilmember Brenda wants to join me and anyone else wants to have input on this, I think that it's a great discussion to have.
So if we support this, we're supporting it right now without the rules and procedures. Would it make sense to have the rules and procedures before we bring this back?
So do we exclude as part of the agreement if we do that, or should we, because you want to, what's the timing on this agreement for you, Yvonne?
Well, once I had approval, I was going to submit it to Granicus, so it'd probably be another month or so before it's finalized. And I can say that I would recommend that we go ahead and implement it, but not open it up to the public until those rules and procedures are changed.
So maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
So the motion would be to move forward with this, but not implement it until the council brings back rules and procedures.
Council President, I think that, we've got, if there's not a serious time constraint, which it sounds from the clerk that there's not, then you and I, and maybe if somebody else wants to join us, could probably nail that down in speaking with the city clerk and the city attorney, and come back by our next council meeting and probably have the whole package that would really help some of our colleagues support it.
So let me make a substitute motion, if I can, that we approve the other two items.
Well, I'm happy to withdraw my motion and just put it over until the next meeting. I don't think we need a substitute motion. Okay. If that's okay, Yvonne, is it okay with your timing in terms of having granted?
I think we have a couple of weeks off, so that gives us some time to look at it.
That's perfect. So we'll go ahead and just withdraw the motion, table it, and bring it back with rules and procedures, council rules and procedures then. Perfect.
Can I?
Member Olivier?
Yes, thank you, and I do appreciate it. I just took a few notes and listening in on this, and again, I appreciate the creativity and forward thinking of our clerk's department to come up with something to allow people to comment. But I took a few notes. I mean, the question. So we know it's online, and I've heard somebody mention, well, let's assign a word limit, and let's assign like courtesy and profanity guidelines. We're even using the term commenting. I mean, this is basically Facebook or Twitter, right? Like that has a word limit and it has a the morality guidelines or whatever. It just sounds to me like we're paying, and then we're going to have city staff moderating a social media page. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me, and I understand the benefits and features of this idea, but it sounds to me like we're going to have a city social media thing on every single agenda item. And you know what? I can't support this if you guys come back and say we're going to exclude items. I mean, there's already people in the population who think the fix is in on everything government does. Can you imagine them go onto this thing and it's like, well, sorry, you are excluded. Well, I mean, obviously the assumption is, well, the fix is in on this item. I can't even comment on it. So I don't think that should even be on the table. If we move in this direction, it has to be everything or it has to be nothing. Because I am not in the business of censoring people's free speech, especially when when the taxpayer is paying for this program. So either they get to say whatever they want or they get to say nothing. The other thing that I was thinking about in terms of this is I forgot what I was going to say. So, and the other thing too, I also I can't subscribe to the idea that it's going to allow housebound people to come and comment. I believe that if an issue is important enough to someone, we have seen people in here, terminal cancer patients on cannabis issues come here. I've seen people with guide dogs. I've seen people that have to be helped in. I've seen people in wheelchairs. I believe that this program isn't the answer to ensuring participation to everyone, because I firmly believe that if an item is important enough to that constituent, that they'll find a way to get here, or they'll send a letter or an email or something like that. I appreciate the idea behind it, and then to try and get more people to participate. But I think that Granicus does our agendas for us, and I thank the clerk for bringing that program to us. But this is not something that I think that this body should pursue. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Baines.
Yeah, I was hoping this didn't even require a whole lot of conversation. I don't know how we've complicated something that's actually really simple. No one's being censored. This does in no way remove a person's ability to comment on our items. It simply is an additional way to comment. That's all it is. It's nothing, this is really not that complicated, folks. All we're going to allow people to do is an extra way to participate. It doesn't remove anything. It doesn't prevent anything. It's a convenience. That's all it is. I know we all get freaked out every time we do something in the 21st century around here, but, that's all it is.
Well, council's just been told that you can turn off the comments administratively.
Well, yeah, because it's a convenience. So it's a matter of convenience, and so if something is inconvenient, we're not going to allow it. It doesn't remove anyone's ability to participate in the process. That's why the city attorney and the city clerk, now we have a subcommittee of council members that are going to come up with some rules to make sure that it stays convenient. So, look, bring it back in a week or two. Whenever we bring it back, this is not that complicated. Write some rules up so that we maintain the convenience of it. But, we ought to be real careful about what we're talking about, and we ought to know what we're talking about when we say things. This is not in any way censoring people at all. This is really not that nuanced. It's not that big of a deal. It's not social media. This is simply allowing people to comment from home if they want to. And if not, they can still come down here. It's not the end of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and move on. Actually, it's 12:05, so what we're going to do, we're going to break for lunch. What we will do, we will come back and immediately at 1:30 go to closed session. to finish up the items that we have in closed session. So, City Attorney, do you have to make any comments?
Oh, I already announced it.
Oh,
so
you
we're
announced
good.
all of it. Okay, so we'll go to closed session and then come back immediately after closed session to resume the agenda. Perfect. We'll go to General Administration. Item 3A, this is the Airports Department, actions pertaining to the Taxiway C reconstruction project at the Fresno Yosemite International Airport.
I almost said good morning. We anticipated, we planned for this, and we were just waiting for the FAA funding to come into play for this last fiscal year, and we got the funding in July. So, and here we are. We already the funds for this within our budget has already been allocated the last budget cycle. So, what this does is basically complete the project in one seamless single phase instead of breaking it into two phases over a couple of years. So, we've done this before, 4 or 5 years ago, with a ramp project we had, and it really is just all predicated on the funding streams from the FAA. So, with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
Second. So there is a motion and a second. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. No one's punched up, so there is a motion and there's a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 6-0 with Councilmember Baines absent.
Great job, Kevin. Keep it up.
Hey, thank
you. We're going to get our positions expedited up here, trust me, someday.
That's right.
Thank you.
Great. Next item is item 3B, also the Airports Department, to approve the Second Amendment to the non-exclusive license agreement to conduct commercial aviation ground handling and support service with DAL Global Services.
So referred to as DGS, they have a contractual relationship with many of the airlines and many airports as well. And so those are continuing, and as long as they have the contractual relationship with the airlines for their what we call under-the-wing operations, meaning baggage handling, et cetera, they have a presence at the airport, and therefore they have a contractual relationship with us. This is merely a 3-year extension of the existing contract that we have in place. That allows them to keep operating at the airport on behalf of the airlines. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thanks. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item?
Motion to approve.
Seeing none, we do have a motion by Councilmember Capriolio, a second by Councilmember Brandel. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Baines absent. Next, we'll move on to item 3C, Public Works Department, a resolution approving the application for formulaic grant funds from the California Transportation Commission's Local Partnership Program for Veterans Boulevard.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Perfect. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Perfect. So we do have a motion, and then Councilmember Caprillo, you made a second?
True.
Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0 with Councilmember Baines and Councilmember Chavez absent. Next, we have item 3D, also Public Works Department, awarded construction contract in the amount of $4 million plus to American Paving Company for Veterans Boulevard project.
Madam President, I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we'll go out to the public. Looks like you don't want any discussion on it. Good.
Oh, no. People are free to discuss. Yeah.
No presentation, I mean. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. There is a motion and a second. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yeah, I have a question for you. You said on here that Emmett's Evacuation, Inc. submitted the lowest bid, but they were deemed non-responsive because they failed to meet the disadvantaged business enterprise and small enterprise requirement. Can you describe those, what's required with those two?
Sure. So on this project, we have high-speed rail funding associated with it, And under the federal requirements of the funding source, they have laid out a 30% DBE, SBE requirement, so disadvantaged business, small business enterprise requirement. It also includes a disadvantaged veterans business enterprise. And so those different groups are set up to allow contractors to be more competitive. So when the general puts their bid together, they have to reach out and make a good faith effort to give businesses that are certified under disadvantaged business enterprise or disabled veterans business enterprise, they have to give them an opportunity to bid on the project. And then they have to show either they select them and they can submit a bid with them included in that and meet the requirement, or they have to submit all the documentation that showed that they had a good faith effort to give them an opportunity to participate on the project.
So what, can you describe the disadvantaged business enterprise, what they mean by that, how that's defined?
Do you know? What was that?
Thanks.
I'll defer to Scott.
Sure, thanks.
Good afternoon, Council. Scott Mosier, Public Works. The DBE program, that's something a lot of federal agencies are required to use. It's a requirement, as Mr. Morrison mentioned, of federal funding. Typically DBE, that includes businesses owned by either ethnicities who have been minorities, been deemed to not have had as much opportunity. Over the years, that the program year to year has changed a little bit depending upon the federal regulations. That's include women-owned businesses and various types. So even for City of Fresno contracts, when we have federal funding involved, those typically through our finance department, purchasing division, there's a DBE goal which is set each year for a certain percentage of that contract. And under the federal requirements, bidders have to either meet that actual percentage goal, or as Randall mentioned, they have to show good faith effort that they tried and they simply weren't able to get anyone.
They had to try and couldn't get anyone. What does that mean, Scott?
That could mean that you would show that they solicited bids from subcontractors. For example, maybe it's a prime who is not a disadvantaged business enterprise, but on let's say a project like this one, they might say, well, let me try to sub out the traffic signal work, traffic control, underground pipeline work, and to hit that certain percentage, they could reach out to certified, listed DBE subcontractors, attempt to obtain a bid, and let's say none of them do. Let's say that they show they've reached out to 2 or 3 companies, they don't get any bids back.
But wouldn't they make that effort once they're awarded the contract? I mean, how would they do that before they're awarded the contract?
On the bid proposal package, the contractors are actually required to list their subcontractors. So they're required under a condition of the federal funding to show each one and what percentage of the work dollar value would be performed by each of those subs.
Okay, and the company that got that did that. The company you're recommending to get the contract did that very thing.
Yes, they did.
Okay, and so Emmett's excavation, even though they were lower, they were non-responsive because they did not make that effort to do that?
Correct, and they, as noted in the staff report, they did appeal that determination. That did go through the appeals process, and there was a memo from that independent hearing officer provided to city manager, which upheld that determination and decision. And so with that, actually the award, it's been delayed for a couple months to go through that appeal process. And with that, we're here before you recommending award to American Paving.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, and that's a requirement of the federal government to have federal monies. It's not a requirement of the city.
It's a requirement of the federal government. That is correct.
Okay, and I'm just curious, and I don't know if you know, city manager, why would somebody who's trying to get a $5 million contract not try to meet those requirements to get that contract?
I would be speculating if I answered that question.
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious why somebody wouldn't want to try to get a $5 million contract to meet the federal requirements. But okay, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you. I thought those were great questions, Councilmember Bredefeld. And thank you also, Scott, for reminding us. I think the dollars that are going to this project are very important. And, you know, I think it's important to recognize where the funds are coming from one of the biggest infrastructure projects, transportation projects that's happened here in the state of California, which is high-speed rail. And I think that the city continues to see the benefits through almost every part of the west area in our community and through, obviously, the downtown area. So it's great to see that. I know we have a motion and a second by Councilmember Capriolio. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0 with Councilmember Baines and Councilmember Capriolio absent. Next, we will go to item 3E, the Personnel Services Department. This is an action pertaining to the International Association of Firefighters Local 753.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Ken Phillips, Labor Relations Manager with the Personnel Services Department. You have before you a successor MOU between the city and the non-management firefighter unit and a salary resolution amendment to implement wage changes for that MOU. The MOU term is for 2 years, expiring in August of 2020. It includes improvements in wages and other terms and conditions of employment. Details are included in the staff report. The unit has ratified the tentative agreement. We're asking that Council approve the MOU and the salary resolution amendment. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wish to comment on this item? Great, seeing none. I'll go ahead and make a motion. Second. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0 with Councilmember Capriolio and Councilmember Baines absent. Next item, we have item 3F, actions pertaining to the Fresno City Employees Association.
Council, thank you. I'm Ken Phillips, Labor Relations Manager. You have before you a successor MOU between the city and the Fresno City Employees Association, a side letter of agreement with FCEA regarding emergency services dispatchers, and a salary resolution amendment which implements changes for FCEA as well as a change to the classification of aviation mechanic in Unit 1. The MOU term with FCEA is for a little over 2 years, expiring in December of 2020. It includes improvements in wages and other terms and conditions of employment. Details on the MOU, the side letter for emergency services dispatchers, and the changes to the salary resolution are included in the staff report. FCA has ratified the MOU and the side letter, and we're asking the Council approve the MOU, the side letter, and the salary resolution amendment. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go out to the public, and I do have a couple cards. First, I will call Maribel Escareño, and then Sam Frank.
Good afternoon. My name is Maribel Escareño. I am currently the past president of the FCA as Sam Frank is has taken over. I am leaving the city after 17 years, moving out to public sector. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to those that have been involved with this successor MOU. Labor relations. You know, it was kind of like a breakup and makeup kind of relationship. We would break up one week, make up the next, break up the next week, make up the next. So, but within the last 3 weeks, we've made up, and you know, I just want to say thank you. You know, FCA and labor relations, like I said, you know, we kind of met throughout this long period of time. And just a few weeks ago, we were kind of given a surprise.
Now you don't. You won't be able to vote without at least
But
four
can we
here.
take still the public comment?
You can still listen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I think that we went to go look for some of the other council members.
Ah, okay. Well, I can wait. I have time. But, okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
Anyway, so I just, again, just want to say thank you to everybody that was involved to make this happen. Very grateful for those that were involved in providing, emergency services dispatcher with that hiring incentive, and that equity adjustment was very, very much needed, as well as obviously the rest of our members. But we're happy with the successor MOU, and just want to bid farewell. And with that said, if you ever need to find out how to get a Harley Davidson, look me up, Matthews Harley Davidson.
Thank you. Sam? You can state your name, address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes as well.
Hi, I'm Sam Frank. I live at 3236 Lincoln Avenue in Clovis. I also live here at City Hall for about 1/3 of my life. And I do have a mailing address here. I'm president of the FCA as of the last day and a half. And all I want to say for the record is that this was a hard-fought contract. The FCA made a lot of concessions to get to this point of a contract. We had to give up a lot of things that we didn't want to have to give up. Yet in the interest of reaching a contract and getting our memberships, who includes people at the very bottom of the pay scale here at City Hall and who desperately need this money with the increases in cost of living in the area and the increases in their health and welfare premiums. It was in that interest that we took this contract to the membership, and they did vote for it. And so all I'm asking is that you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. There's no one punched up. I will make a motion. Second by Councilmember Chavez. I just wanted to say that I want to just congratulate both sides for coming to an agreement. I know that for a number of years we've been talking about, specifically as Maribel mentioned, the emergency dispatchers and the issues there, and trying to improve the response times for the residents that live in the city and make sure that we have good dispatchers on the front lines. And so I feel like this contract will allow for us to see some improvements by encouraging laterals to come to our department. And so I think that that's a big win and a big plus for everyone. And obviously also make sure that we let those folks that are at the bottom of the pay scales here in our city, who are on the trenches, in the front lines, doing the hard, sometimes dirty work out in the neighborhoods, that they too get a pay raise. So I'm happy to support it this afternoon. Councilmember Olivier.
I just have a question. I don't know if this is from our city staff, but it's definitely, I want to hear from the president of the FCEA. If you could come to the podium, I just have a question. And I appreciate both sides and their negotiation getting us to where we need to be. These city employees obviously perform important tasks. You mentioned maybe 2 or 3 times in your remarks that the FCEA had to give things up.
Absolutely.
To me, you've implied that you had something that was taken away. What things did you give up?
I'm sorry, you misunderstand what I mean. By give up, I mean when you come to the negotiating table, you have items that you're willing to fight for, that you want to see in the contract. During negotiations, there's a give and take where each side has things they would like, but you can't reach agreement on. And to get to an agreement, you have to basically get down to the core elements and reach agreement on the core elements, and sometimes you have to give up things that you want. I can specifically state we wanted going in and throughout the whole process an F-step, which is what was given to the firefighters and which is what PD has. We wanted that for our people because we thought it was fair, equitable, And we actually thought it would end up being a good deal for the city, since you don't actualize a lot of the costs until people actually reach the top of the F step. We had to give that up in order to reach an agreement. And that's what I mean by it.
Okay, but to be completely accurate, there's nothing that FCEA had that was taken from them.
No, that would be a takeaway. And we didn't really see, other than some language changes that, we didn't want to make but ended up making. There were no benefits that were actually taken away. So there were no takeaways, but we did give up some of the items that we fought for.
Okay, and I guess the fact that your membership ratified this is an indication that your membership is pleased with how this turned out.
Yeah, they realized that all in all, it was the best deal they were going to get, and a majority of them voted for it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember, for Councilmember Olivier, for that clarification. I think that was needed to be able to understand kind of as a whole in terms of negotiations. One thing that I may note, I think in this probably negotiation cycle, they didn't get any taken away, but I think over the course of the last few negotiations, I think it is fair to say that most of our labor groups have given something in terms of even the healthcare benefit. Now folks have to pay a little bit more. And so there has been those moments, and that was just, in the last couple of years that happened. So I would just highlight that. But again, I want to thank you guys for being at the table and getting your membership to, at least the majority of your membership, to agree that this was a path forward for everyone. So with that, we'll go ahead. Oh, Councilmember Chavez.
Just wanted to thank Maribel for the educational piece, and I think it's very important for you to really communicate to the city and to the community just what it means to have that level of quality service. And I think if folks knew, how many of our calls are put on hold when they call for an emergency or don't go through, I think that'd be a different conversation. But that's a big reminder of the investment that we need to be making in our systems. So I really wanted to publicly thank you for really educating a lot of the policymakers on what that means for levels of service. And Sam, look forward to working with you now in your new hat, your new role. Appreciate the work you guys do every day. Thank you.
Great. So we'll go ahead and take a vote. So we do have a motion by myself, and then Councilmember Chavez made a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion carries 6-0 with Councilmember Brandau absent. And I think that was it for the meeting. We're done. We will be adjourning in memory of Molly Tibbetts and also the firefighter that we just saw, known as Mickey. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.